Thank you for joining us at the Harness DevSecOps Summit.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff, right? We're kind of digging in on vibe coding security, securing AI native designs, DevSecOps, right? And all that's
all
meant.
all the cool stuff.
Yeah,
all the
that
cool
keeps us
stuff.
busy, right? And keeps us up at night.
We always happy to engage with Harness, especially in Harness and Traceable joining forces together. Both of them was a partner of Wiz, and it's amazing to see what you guys are doing.
Yeah, and we heard a lot of great stuff from Dimitri and Chris about how they're approaching securing AI native designs. Personal favorite, right? I kind of talked in that one myself, so I don't want to toot my own horn. But also threat research, right? How we're seeing how attackers are targeting the DevSecOps tools that developers are using to build and release. So threat landscape's pretty massive, right? A lot of security consideration. So really looking forward to this conversation with you.
Me too.
And wrapping up kind of all these topics, right? And
we have a lot of things to cover today.
Yeah. So let's kind of get into it, right? And I'm kind of curious, how do you think about securing the AI lifecycle? What does that mean to you?
So I think that when we talk about AI, everyone talks about AI these days, and we can see about let's first about the challenges, like what AI bringing to the table. I think first of all, from the security perspective, we see more new architecture. Okay, some customers are using native services of AI, just like Bedrock, Gemini, OpenAI, all of them, and others are using on-prem solutions and install their own homegrown AI. So it's introduced new model and new architectures that you have to first of all identify. This is like one challenge. The other challenge is the rapid piece of innovation. Like the developer are pushing code to production much faster than they used to, thanks to AI.
Yep.
But your cloud security team, your SecOps team, DevOps team, they're not growing that fast as much as like new code is being pushed into production. So this is like the second challenge that you have. And I think the third challenge that you have is also we see a lot of like autonomous agents. So even if you think of like how developer application was like 2 years ago, we didn't heard about like even the concept of like autonomous agent. So what is an autonomous agent? How it can be deployed? How it can be exploited? So we also introduced new risks. Okay, from that perspective, like think of even you have in the past you have like APIs, right? I can hack your API if it's like I can compromise your API, but what happens if I'm using your SecOps agent or whatever, and I'm like be able to get in because whatever.
Yep.
And the third and the fourth one that is I think most concerning is like, great, we are using AI, the developer are using AI to build great code, but also the bad guys are leveraging AI today as a weapon. Okay, so it's become like a battle like an AI versus AI. We'll use AI to protect AI, and those are the challenges, and we are trying to face them also with Wiz. So we have like two flavors of like how we can help organization using AI. So one pillar is how can we help organizations secure their AI. Okay, so we have a lot of things we call AI ASPM, how be able to protect the cloud, identify problem, identify new model, new architecture. So we have a full-blown, like say, concept of how we can be able to help you with secure your AI environment. And from the other hand, we are leveraging AI internally in ways under the hood in engines, building agents to help you with operationalization of Wiz and securing your environment even faster when you try to do day-to-day operational work. So we are also leveraging AI to help eventually secure AI.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff. A lot of things to really dig in
there
and
very fast.
unpack, right? It's let's kind of pick them apart one by one. I love that you kind of mentioned architecture, how that's changed, right? And I'd say everybody's kind of, it's not just applications, it's systems, right? Particularly as you talk about agentic AI, right? There might not be a typical front end that like a web app or a mobile app. There could be, right? It varies. So the architecture underneath, distributed data, distributed middleware, some of that might be an on-premises data center. A lot of that is likely in cloud, right? Because we're talking really indirectly about cloud scale because of very large data sets, particularly with large language models. So, like how does Wiz kind of think about that? Like that big, massive picture of here's some of your cloud, here's some of multi-cloud too, right? It's not likely not
it's
just
multi-cloud,
one,
hybrid cloud, SaaS environment. So as you know, we started in the cloud, right? Right. That's what we started. You know, multi-cloud strategy support AWS, Azure, GCP, Oracle, Alibaba, and then we also like last year we acquired a company named DAS. The DAS helps us and help us basically expand to become a unified vulnerability management system, and we basically now launch it as like the Wiz exposure management and we launched literally last week. We launched our new attack surface management. So think of like right now you need to see everything even beyond cloud. Okay, your SaaS application, your cloud application, your on-prem application, and then try to understand what is your exposure all over the place. Because if you think of like, let's take a lot of time, the architecture, people love to run things on-prem, especially their trained AI model, okay, and you still have to protect that. So last year, the acquisition of TAS, we basically are able to connect to all of your environments. So you'll be able to use Wiz Scanner in code, in cloud, and in runtime using a runtime sensor. But also, you are able to use other scanners. So we're able to connect to for example, in the code, to Snyk, to SemGraph, to Veracode, to checkmarks, bringing their signals into Wiz. We are able to connect to on-prem environment. We'll be able to connect with Tenable, with Rapid7, with Qualys, and we partner with all of them, part of like Win. Win is becoming even bigger. We have more than 220 available integration.
including Harness.
Yeah, I don't. Should I count you now as one? Like, but it's good that we have two.
The biggest, right?
It's the biggest.
The pipeline, the CI/CD. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like us connecting to all of those scanners is first of all one of the things that we are doing is an open ecosystem. Okay, an open security platform that you can use with scanner or bring your own, and eventually we bring in those signals, those assets, those vulnerabilities that helps us see everything. Put everything in the Wiz security graph, do basically prioritization using attack surface management, validation, exposure validation, and that really helps us help the customer secure everything they build and run. And we also starting to also like supporting like the big SaaS. It's also something that we are considering.
Yeah, it's interesting, and that's kind of how Harness views a lot of this, right? How developers build and release, but also how you acquire. And I love that you keep bringing up third-party SaaS, particularly, right? And that's how a lot of enterprises build, right? They're kind of stitching together third-party services to likely create some kind of AI native system, right? And agentic, as you mentioned. So Harness also, as you probably know, through the Traceable acquisition, we also focus on runtime and API security specifically, right? And it's very interesting.
By the way, you were one of, I think, the first vendor that actually sent us runtime events.
Yes.
One of the early design partners, still remember.
Yeah, so it's like one big happy family, right? One big ecosystem. But it's kind of the reality, right? Because that's how we build and release. It's very diverse technology, very distributed, and security also tends to be mixed, right? It's kind of how organizations build their security programs. So yeah, at Harness, we kind of view it very much in that API lens, because that's typically how things are communicating. Maybe we'll touch on that in a bit, kind of things like MCP. We did touch on that in some of the earlier sessions in the DevSecOps Summit, but we're moving very quickly on this agentic path. But one thing I wanted to kind of go back to, you kind of talked about this DevOps momentum and like faster release, and I wholeheartedly agree, right? We've kind of been on, I'd say, the digital transformation journey. It's cliche, right? But it's 20 years plus at this point. But DevOps is the name of the game, right? It's kind of that rapid development, build, release. Specifically, what's kind of bubbling up is AI-assisted coding, and then vibe coding we talked about in the summit. So I'm kind of curious, like, specifically, how is Wiz thinking about that? I know you touched on scanners, right? And that could be part of the answer.
Yes, but it definitely. So when we expand the platform, we want to help more teams to be engaged with the platform. We basically also be able to shift left. Okay, so we have Wiz scanners in the cloud, in the code, we have the Wiz code, so you're able to connect to your GitHub, GitLab, scan your repository, find problems even when you're coding. And in order to help the developer, we need to meet them where they are. So that's why we've also created the ability to create, for example, IDE plugins. So you need to make sure, if you want to help the developer, you need to meet them where they are while they're building the code. Okay, so they will understand what are the blast radios. Okay, I'm going to ship this piece of code to production. What could be the problem?
Yeah, what does blast radius even mean to a developer, right? That's
Exactly.
not versed
So
in security.
we need to simplify that,
Yeah.
and just like to explain them. Okay, if you're gonna push this code into production, you have a secret that you're gonna push into to production, and that causes a lateral move to a crown jewel asset.
Yeah.
Okay, so giving them and when we want to shift left as much as possible, we want to bring them like. We have IDE plugins so they can meet. We have a Wiz extension so you can actually, when you browse your GitHub and GitLab, you'll be able to see what happened in your cloud and what are the risks that if you will push into production will be in the cloud. And I think that truly helps them because developers like IDEs, they like code. That's why they're living. But we need to help them be more security aware. And I think from that perspective, we always try to explain companies and organization, security is a team sport, okay? And it's some part of your culture that you need always to embrace. And sometimes people think about security like in the end of the process, okay? Mm-hmm. So I think we need to educate always the developers, like the same drill that when they do not push code into production unless someone do a PR, right? So you do not start writing your code without having like a code, like a design review, right? What the architecture you're going to build. So also the discussions about the security review needs to be as early in the process as possible because what worse can happen is like you did your architecture review, you start coding, and then before you're going to ship the code into production, then you're going to do your security review, and then security team will tell you, great, but you have to change the architecture because it's purely not secure. And then you waste your time. So I think meet them where they are from their tools perspective, and from the other hand, make sure to nurture, the security culture in the organization, so the developer will be security aware. Because if they will understand the blast radios, trust me, they will be engaged. No one wants to ship problems into production.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting dilemma too, and I love there's a lot of points you touched on there. One is kind of the security awareness, right? We've pushed that certainly as security practitioners and leaders in our respective spaces. The challenge tends to be, right? It's like we can talk about it, but the reality is you mentioned secrets, right? The developer might push a piece of code, maybe 1,000 secrets, and then they already have a backlog of millions of secrets. So it's like, what's the actual risk? And is your security team equipped to understand the impact of that, right? And that's, I think, where we'll kind of get more into the runtime piece of the equation, but it becomes very challenging to address that in shift left, as we would typically say.
And I think we can help. There's like a lot of things we can help to make their life easier. I think yes, everyone use AI today, vibe coding. Everyone wants to ship code into production faster, which is good. Okay, but you have to trust what you write. But I think also make sure that to put all the guardrails in place. So obviously you guys in the CI/CD area, right? And you've wrapped basically the Wiz CI, which is great. So you define your policy in one place. In that case, Wiz. Okay, and then you make sure that all the guardrails are in place. So when I write the code, the guardrail will be there, all the policy that I defined, and then when I try to push the code into production and when I try to deploy it. And I think the good thing about fixing things earlier in the process from a remediation perspective is like it's the biggest impact that you can have. Having said that, the lowest impact to your production environment, okay?
Yep.
And we always strive to start secure, okay? So I think even using like golden images, okay, we also introduced like Wiz OS, but we partner also with Echo, with the Docker Hub, and all of them. Because if we can tell you, replace those images with secure images, again, it's minimize the risk because you start secure. Okay, then you do your vibe coding, test it, make sure that
Yeah,
nothing is
yeah,
gonna
good
be-
security hygiene, right?
Yes,
Start from the golden
exactly,
images.
Exactly. Because you also mentioned the runtime. Unfortunately, runtime, when you need to isolate a VM, when you need to terminate a process, obviously you can seal a bridge from happening, but you're gonna hurt your production environment. But if you don't have any problem, if you don't have, if that's what you need to do, you have to seal the bridge. But that's a very, very late remediation.
Yeah, yeah. Let's kind of dig deeper into the AI native piece, right? Because like in my head, I agree with everything you've said. With secrets, getting earlier in the code, identifying those issues, working with kind of good security patterns, good hygiene. What tends to happen in practice that I've seen is it becomes very challenging working with AI ML services, like we're talking about third party, typically cloud delivered. Maybe you have a large language model in the cloud. Maybe you're augmenting with some on-prem language models. And then you want to institute guardrails, but it's like, well, where does it make sense to do them? Is the cloud provider doing it? Should I do some content filtering? Right? It becomes this new spider web. I think a lot of security teams are struggling with this. I'm curious, like your perspective, like what do you think current state is in the Wiz perspective, and then like where do we need to get to? Because in my mind, there's still a lot of work to be done. There's significant gaps in AI native designs.
Definitely. So I think I tell you what I'm seeing happen right now. When you brought MCP earlier, I'm a big fan of MCP, to be honest. When I'm in this industry for more than 20 years, and I used to write a lot of code in my life, like integrations, like API. It's like an evolution, if you can think about that. So I don't know, it was still 20 years ago, even more, that introduced an API. How can you consume data from other places? Good, we had an API, you will parse it, good. It takes time, and then they come up with SDK. I write in Python, you write in JavaScript, you I don't know. And then let's create an SDK so I don't have to actually do the retry and the authentication and like simplify these things, right? And then MCP, I think it's a game changer from that perspective, because I don't need to know your API, I don't need to read your docs, and I literally see that happen in Win, like when we created Win, okay, and the magic was, we created a very straightforward developer portal, everyone can read, everything is straightforward, the API is simple, and people managed to create integration. You guys managed to create integration with, I think, less than a month or something like that. Really? Last April, we start working on the Wiz MCP. And we introduced a couple of partnership with other companies that has MCP. And we managed to create integration within a day. And if you can think about that, it's going to change how interactive system will consume data from each other.
Yep.
Okay, so I know my business logic, you know your business logic, let my people call your people, right? So my MCP...
Or my machines call your machines.
It's literally what's going to happen. You brought, you also have your SecOps. You are using, with the SecOps, right? We release a SecOps agent. And I see in the future that this SecOps agent will talk with other agents. I find something, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah.
Okay, bring back your data, process it. Obviously it will, let's say, bring a challenge, because now data can flow in more smoothly between organizations, and I think it's something that we can cover. But if you look about the simplicity, if you look about time to market, I think it's a game changer. Again, we literally this week also we have our Wiz conference, and we created from scratch Wiz MCP that actually you ask him to pull vulnerability, pull issue from Wiz, create a web server that pull this data for leadership that see everything, and we actually ask him, okay, good, now deploy that in AWS and GCP, create a Terraform to run it. It happened within, I don't know, less than an hour.
Yeah, it's amazing technology.
And I think it's a real game changer always. But with all new technology, it has risk. You have to be aware. Okay, you have to be aware that there are risks, but don't afraid to embrace the technology, because I think what it's bring the value that it will bring is much, much, much better than the risk. Obviously, we always have to take
Yeah.
care of the risk.
Yeah, and we see a lot of that now too, right? How developers are sourcing MCP. It's kind of like the menu of things, right? Like point to GitHub's MCP or GitLab, or Wiz, right? Or Harness, right? That's kind of this registry or the menu, right? I know it's very, I'd say human-centric predominantly right now, but I do agree. I think it's going to become much more agentic and machines talking to other machines, and then we're off to the races.
Yes,
So,
I think the evolution will be the machine will talk with machine, then we have men in the loop, okay, just to make sure to validate. I do a situation where you're gonna have like people that their job will be, I want just to monitor that what the AI bring back, it's valid, it's okay, but it's an evolution, and it's a good thing,
yeah.
and we just need to use that for the best, but always keep in mind, the bad guys can
Yeah.
do and will do
Yeah,
the same to try to use that as a weapon.
Yeah.
That's why it's good that everyone is joining forces in the
Yeah.
industry to collaborate together.
Yeah.
Because we are here to protect, the environment for the benefit of the customers.
Yeah, it's quite the conversation, right? We touched a little bit on threat research, like how can you manipulate the language model and the MCP? So some interesting stuff. Certainly a lot for security people in all walks to really stay ahead of, right? So hopefully we can keep equipping everybody with.
We keep them sharp.
Yes,
Right?
well, that's it, right? It's like we're in this, like we got to win, right? And there's a lot of safety implications, yeah. So it's a fun problem space. So, Oren, I'm curious if you've thought about the problem of shadow AI, and I don't know if you're aware, Harness is releasing an AI security survey we've done. We kind of asked people what they, where they think they're at with their state of AI, how are they doing securing it. And one of the questions was if they feel they have, a good visibility into their AI footprint. And it's kind of interesting to see that they feel they do, but it's like if you dig a layer deeper, realize they might have some visibility gaps. So we've seen this, right? We've seen this in DevOps, we've seen this in API and cloud. It's kind of like that shifting visibility or cloud of war, right? It's like you just don't have insight into the things, right? And I think this has happened a lot with AI designs because teams were rapid prototyping, like let's try out this cool new technology, let's consume the new model, right? And I don't know if organizations have all of that grasp of everything they're using, and then what are the data flows as we've been talking about, and is it the right model? Is it an old one that might be prone to hallucinations? So, I personally been thinking more about this problem of shadow AI, and it's certainly a big concern for us at Harness. So I'm curious, like, you personally, like, have you thought about this? Are you seeing it?
Yeah. So first of all, yes, we see that across the board. I mean, the footprint of AI. We have released a survey about, because every year we release a survey on like how many new technology we see in customer environment, and like the rapid embrace of AI is like that. I think the numbers are,
it's like 10x the adoption of the internet.
it's around 80%. 80% footprint. We in 80% of our customers we see footprint of AI, and the good thing about like what we're doing, which is all about visibility, see everything, okay, prioritize, and then ownership, like assign people that actually can able to fix that. But AI is not that different because eventually is identify technology. And when we connect to your cloud environment, we connect to your on-prem, we even connect her to some of the SaaS of OpenAI and etc. So we are able, first of all, to tell you what kind of AI technology you run in the cloud. We have in our AI ASP, we have even a dedicated view, so you can see all your inventory, even if it's like being used as a service, okay, using Bedrock, using Gemini, okay, in Amazon GCP, or OpenAI. But from the other hand, because we also be able to scan your environment, if someone runs on a Kubernetes cluster on a specific container, he runs an SDK of OpenAI, we are able to identify that. So first of all, the visibility, it's always like from day one it was. So the core principle also true for AI. Start with visibility. Show them first of all of their shadow AI. I had some customer calls that says, yeah, we are not using AI in our system. I said, okay, well, can you check your inventory? And they were like amazed. Oh, My developer are using AI. Yes, guess what? Like that's what developers do, right? They embrace new technology. Great, they're good in their job. But the cloud security persona needs and want to have that visibility. So I think first of all, visibility is one thing. The other piece of that is try to understand all the toxic combination and misconfiguration. You can easily today, like, use AI as a service and like accidentally misconfigure it, make it expose, have vulnerability in AI model. So from our perspective, it's like we see the visibility, we prioritize your risk, and then we assign it to developers or the owner that actually needs to fix that.
Yeah, great points, right? It's kind of that mix of visibility everywhere, full life cycle, development, code, readily sourcing, and then what are you seeing in runtime? Let's kind of segue to that runtime piece a little more, right? It's to me, it's a lot of API communications, as we've been talking about, and during the DevSecOps Summit, right? Because we talked about MCP, that's kind of a protocol layer on top that is API calls. Cloud services are typically API consumed. And I know Wiz is, very much in that world of cloud runtime security. So how do you see kind of this, all these signals coming together to really help teams, improve their AI security maturity?
So threats in your cloud and on-prem, we have, it's pretty much the same like what you have in the cloud, but the let's say the downside is you need to react much faster, okay? So think of like when you have an ongoing threats happening right now, you need to collect as much as signals from different sources. So for one hand, you need to collect all the logs, okay, like cloud logs, machine logs, right? And network traffic, every data that you can find in order to identify, first of all, if you have an ongoing attack at the moment, right? If you have an actual threat. Mm-hmm. And then come the verdict. You have to get the verdict and then trigger any kind of remediation. So I think, first of all, from that perspective, it's changed the way how we need to act fast. And for us, in order to simplify things, we also use AI. We released the SecOps agent, as I mentioned before. Even if we find a threat or we suspect that there is a threat, sometimes in order to get the verdict, if it's actual threat or it's a false positive, sometimes you even need to collect additional data specific to this specific threat, to this specific use case. By the way, sometimes you also need to interact with other. I'll give you an example. You see like an alert pop and says someone log in from a specific, let's from Thailand, IP address in Thailand, or your company is based in the US. Can be one of two things. You have a very good employee that during his vacation take his laptop because, I don't know, he want to be on call or something. Exactly, right? Or someone tried to hack you from the outside. So the very first response so you do your investigation, okay? And then you need to engage. If you think that this specific person is logging, you need to reach out to him and say, David, it was you? Yes, no. Oh, it was me. Don't worry, all good. I'm vacation. I just have to log in for a few minutes just to fix something. Thank you for calling. Everything is okay. You can go back to sleep. And then you have to trigger like also remediation workflow or operational workflow to do that. And today the SecOps agent that we built help us do a lot of like things like collect more data that you will do the verdict much faster, and then integrate with other systems to do remediation. So I think it's all about collect data as much as you can, do additional investigation, and react fast.
Yeah.
And if you do have a threat, and that's I think the beauty of the Wiz platform. We talk always about democratization. What does democratization mean? Everyone in the organization can have access to the platform, like cloud security team, DevOps, SecDevOps team, SecOps
Personas.
team. Yes, different persona. Why? If we take a look on like the example, assuming that it wasn't David.
Yep. So it was an agent.
It was an agent. It was an agent. Yes, it was an agent. So first of all, you need to terminate the process immediately, just to make sure that no one will get in. And then you want to interact with the cloud security persona after you identify that there's an attack. What was the risk? Like how basically he managed to get in. So you remediate, you stop the breach in the very second, but now you basically need to fix it from the beginning, like how you can remediate that, and your cloud security persona will get in, and if he connect also code to the area, he will understand that specific developer push an infrastructure as a code into production that caused a misconfiguration that caused this specific exposure, and then the cloud security persona would like to interact with the developer, reach out to them, assign the ticket. Hopefully the cloud security persona, the DevOps, the developer will fix that, push your CI/CD pipeline using Harness, make sure that doesn't have any
it's
misconfiguration.
We're living the dream, right? This is kind of the utopia of DevSecOps. I feel
that's the way it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, security is a team sport from within your organization and also from the outside. This is why we like to partner with others. Okay, like with other company in the industry, because I give you like a real life example, and if you need to fix all of those, it's a team sport.
Yeah. I love that you touched on personas too, because to me that is kind of the core. I'd say one of the biggest challenges we have in security. Right, everybody kind of picks their discipline, cloud security, DevOps, AppSec, right, and you become very skilled in that. But it also makes it harder to bridge, right? You talked about bridging, right? And I think AI is going to kind of serve as that bridge, right? It can do that translation specifically to code, like you mentioned, right? That pairing of the DevSecOps platform or CI/CD with your runtime or a cloud security platform, but it's a lot of translation. Typically, not just machine code, but also human language, right? And it's like there aren't really practitioners that do each piece, right? That everybody's kind of picks their specialty. That's just how we are as humans, right?
Definitely.
And then the language models can be that.
And then in the future, all the agents.
Yeah, exactly, right? So that's where
they'll certainly get their spot.
Yeah. So I think it's really, awesome times. Honestly, like I think we are in the time of DevSecOps that we've been talking about for maybe 5-10 years. Like the tooling feels like it's finally here, and like AI is the missing piece, right?
Something substantial.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be awesome to see this play out. Look forward to continued partnership with Wiz and between Harness, Traceable, and Wiz. And thank you again, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you for being a great partner. You also, long-time partner of Wiz and one of the earliest one in Win. And thank you for the collaboration. It's all about like open security platform. Make sure that we collaborate because eventually we want to help the mutual customers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Or.